just to show you, like, we do work hard at this channel. Like, I spent lots of time collecting this information. These are pieces from committee, and committee was wild last night. I think this is going to be Raj Hallan, the finance critic, going head to head with Julie DeBruzen, who is the environment minister, and she is a wreck. Let's just watch.
Hey, that's something everyone
Are
can
pipelines
enjoy.
in the national interest of the country, yes or no?
Pardon me?
Are pipelines in the national interest of the country, yes or no?
So as I answered in the last one, we have a Build Canada Act that sets out a process and criteria for
deciding. Does that mean, I heard your answer from before, which was a non-answer. This is a very clear question. Are pipelines in the national interest of the country? It's a simple yes or no.
It's not a simple question that you're asking, because you're asking a question. I mean, my answer is quite simple as well. We have a Build Canada Act that sets out criteria.
Respectfully, it's not an answer. So let's put this into context, Minister. The Keystone Pipeline, would you support it? Yes or no?
That's not a decision that I have before me. So what we've been talking about when we're talking about projects in national interest.
The decision could possibly come up very shortly. Would you support the Keystone XL pipeline, yes or no?
I'm not going to answer a hypothetical. I will say that we have a process to decide which projects are in the national interest. That's what Canadians want from us.
So would pipelines fall under a project of national interest?
If there is a project that meets the 5 criteria, has Indigenous
would that include
consultation.
pipelines? I've not heard you say pipeline even once today.
What I'm saying is that there are many different kinds of projects that are being proposed as projects of national interest. It's really an exciting time, actually, for Canada to be able to envision what our future can look like.
And if one of those projects happened to be oil and gas pipelines, would that be something your government would support, yes or no?
Again, it's a hypothetical until there's a fully designed project that's being put forward that has gone through Indigenous consultation.
So, given that, your track record said otherwise, because when the Northern Gateway Pipeline was before your cabinet table, your government's cabinet table, it had overwhelming support from Indigenous communities, and yet your government and at the cabinet table decided to cancel that project. So it's a little hard for us to believe that your government now has a change of heart that wants to somehow build projects that would be to the benefit of Canada, when your government has also turned away our allies when they came here for our energy. So once again, would your government be in support of an oil and gas pipeline if it's in the national interest and before you today?
And what I'm saying is I can't provide you with an evaluation of a hypothetical. What I can tell you is that I believe Canadians would be happy to see that there's a very clear process with very clear criteria on which to judge it.
It's very interesting that you avoid the word pipeline and will not answer the question. It makes it very clear that you are against pipelines and oil and gas.
We can build.
Minister, would you support the constitutional power of the federal government to ensure interprovincial resource projects that are in the national interest to be built?
Point of order. I'm sorry, Chair. Just the line of questioning doesn't have anything to do with the bill that we're contemplating here at C4. I know that you've allowed a lot of latitude for members, but it's just continuous. It doesn't seem to have any relation to the consumer carbon tax, which is being repealed here, which is what the Conservatives always wanted. It's like a dream come true for them.
Turnbull, Mr. Kelly, on the same point of order.
The witness has engaged on this line of questioning, so it has become part of the substance of it, and it's consistent with other
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Hallan.
My question stands. We see BC is holding hostage what's in the national interest for the country's betterment in the form of a pipeline. Do you support the constitutional power that the federal government has to ensure that that national interest project is built?
Like I said, again, there's a process to be followed when we're looking at what is a project of national interest. There are many different kinds of projects, and I was excited when you see that there were 5 projects.
Minister,
that
respectfully,
were
I'll assume that that pipelines are not in the national interest according to your government. I'll move on. The job-killing oil and gas cap that your government has put on. Do you know how many jobs it's going to kill?
So when we're talking about the draft regulations for an oil and gas cap, there was a draft regulation that was tabled at the end of last year. It went through
what's
a
the number,
consultation
Minister? How many
period.
jobs will be lost with this oil and gas cap?
Mr. Turnbull, point of order.
Chair, I just want to ask if maybe the member couldn't speak over the witness. I know that the minister is trying to answer his questions. He's done that repeatedly, and
She won't answer.
and the interpreters often find that very hard to interpret. So it's even hard for us to hear what's going on, especially if you're a French language speaker and you want to hear the translation. It's hard to make out what's being said.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Turnbull. I'll just remind all members that for the sake of interpretation, that we don't speak over each other. Thank you very much.
Well,
Mr. Hallan?
the minister refuses to answer any questions. So it's over 100,000 jobs your oil and gas cap will kill, and it'll kill around $1 trillion. And we've seen over the last 10 years, your government drove away $500 billion of investment already because of bills like Bill C-69, this oil and gas cap, your industrial carbon tax.
Point of order,
Minister.
Chair.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm sorry to
Turnbull.
interrupt again, but we're moving to clause by clause. I believe it's in our next meeting, and the member's not asking any questions that are relevant to the bill in question. C4 is a bill that includes repealing the consumer carbon tax, which doesn't have anything to do with what the member is asking about.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Turnbull. Mr. Kelly and then Mr. Gahan on the same point of order.
The member is burning the minister's time. The member can ask whatever questions he wants that she is engaged on, and she is engaged on this line of questions.
Mr. Kelly, Monsieur Gahan?
Oui, Madame la Présidente, je comprends que
Madam Chair, I understand what we're trying to do here is to defend the minister. She's very able to defend herself. I'm okay to give some latitude because there is the question of abolishing the carbon credit tax, rather, to the consumer. Now, from the point where we have to go article by article, item by item, we have to know what the government's intentions are on so-called major projects, infrastructure, etc. How can we decide on C4 when it is so complex, and we have to look at each and every part of it? Now, we should the minister's doing a very good job of answering the questions today when she's given the opportunity to do so.
Carbon tax question, Minister. The carbon tax 2.0, that has no rebate, which you guys you hid under this name, clean fuel standard. Can you please let this committee know and Canadians know how much extra on top of a litre of gas that clean fuel standard or carbon tax 2.0 will cost them?
First, I want to be really clear that the clean fuel regulations are not a carbon tax, and it does drive billions of dollars in innovation.
It also drives billions of dollars away from Canada.
I was continuing to answer the question. It sets us up for a strong low-carbon economy.
How much
It
extra
creates
per
jobs.
litre will it cost Canadians on a litre of gas by 2030? Just the number, please.
So one thing that I find interesting is just because you keep referring to it as a tax, and I want to be clear
Minister,
about that.
since you're
So
not
why
going to
don't
answer.
I actually
Mr.
would like
Turnbull,
to
on a
tell
point of
you
order.
something about what the canola...
Sorry, Mr. Turnbull on a point of order.
I know the minister's doing a great job of answering or trying to answer, but Mr. Hallan will not let her actually get her words out. It would be really nice if we could hear
Thank
the
you,
answer,
Mr. Turnbull.
Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Turnbull.
I
Mr.
haven't heard a
Hallan,
single
you can
answer today,
continue.
so I'll answer. According to the PBO, it'll add 17
Sorry,
cents.
Mr. Hallan, your time is up. Thank you.
All right, gang. So this is Justice Committee where we've got Mark Miller. This prick is the chair of the Justice Committee, but he's facing off head to head with Larry Brock, who has some very wicked questions to ask. Mark Miller, I couldn't say anything more degrading than calling him a... He is what he is. He's a loser.
Larry, 6 minutes. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Just when I thought that the Carney Liberal government could not be more out of touch on this particular study, we have Mr. Maloney, the current Liberal caucus chair and former parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Justice in the last Parliament, accuse Conservatives and other advocates of fear-mongering. Well, I couldn't see anything more out of touch than that when you've had, for the last 4 years, mayors such as you, Mr. Gillingham, premiers of every province and territory, police chiefs across the country, police association presidents, victim advocacy groups, all pleading and begging with this Liberal government to wake up to the reality on our streets that victims and Canadians are terrified. Those are the facts. They read and see every single day, example after example, of people committing violent crimes while out on bail. Mr. Maloney says facts matter. He needs to read the paper. He needs to follow what's happening on the media, because that's exactly what is happening. And then he has the audacity to say, we have good laws? If we had good laws, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in right now. We have a situation called principle of restraint, that regardless of the offense you commit, regardless of the number of releases you're on, regardless of your criminal record, which shows a history of breaching bail and a history of committing the same offense over and over again, this Liberal government directed and instructed judges to release the accused at the earliest opportunity on the least restrictive conditions.
Point
that,
of order,
folks,
point
is
of order,
the
Mr.
origin.
Chair. If
Point
Mr.
of order?
Brock is going to make accusations and suggests he's relying on facts, I suggest he does it himself.
That's
the
not
Liberal
point
government
of
has
order,
never,
Mr.
the
Chair.
Liberal government has never instructed a judge, in my experience, ever.
Chair, that is not a point of order.
Yeah, like, look, obviously here, it may or may not be a point of order. You have 3 minutes left. I assume you have a question, because the principle of restraint obviously is not being applied to the line of questioning. So just please get to it.
If we had good laws, we would not be here today studying this issue. If we had good laws, and we've heard from the Prime Minister, from Carney, from Justin Trudeau, we've heard from former Justice Ministers saying how sound our bail laws were, and that the whole concept of fear is simply in our heads. Former Justice Minister Arif Virani indicated that, a former Crown Attorney as well. So if we had those laws, we wouldn't be hearing from this Liberal government now saying, we're finally waking up to the reality. We have been listening, and we're going to be introducing bail legislation sometime this week. Okay? We've been hearing that literally for the last 7 months. So I've identified the elephant in the room, and that's the principle of restraint. We have a bill already in the House of Commons tabled, the Jail Not Bail Act, which seeks at its principal core to replace the principle of restraint when it comes to repeat violent offending, and replacing that with the principle of protection and community safety. How do you feel, anyone feel about that as addressing a tool to ensure that repeat violent offenders are detained in custody where they belong?
Just one of you, I guess, because there's only a minute and 20 seconds left.
I think that's a good point, and in my mind, this is when I talk about using a scalpel and taking evidence-based approaches. The issue with the concerns many Canadians have, when we look at one of the root causes is, especially with our First Nations Canadians, with our Indigenous Canadians who monopolize, not monopolize, they're disproportionate within our system. Had we, and 10 years ago, we made a commitment as a nation to addressing the challenges that exist in these communities, had we followed through with more than 13 out of 90 some odd calls to action, had we seen and if we increased our investment into our First Nations communities, we wouldn't see the numbers, and we wouldn't see the recidivism. We need to have, with any bail program, we do need to have a very calculated, evidence-based approach going into bail. But as I said, on that trajectory of bail, we need to have resources in place. And I believe that those resources do come from the federal government, that the federal government has an obligation, especially to our First Nations people, to ensure that they have the supports and that their communities are reaching the health and the vibrance and the opportunities. We're not seeing that to the same degree across the country. I know there are some good success stories that we've seen in Alberta with Oxford House and others, but in my mind, this is where we fall short in considering the the process of bail and the monitoring and the enforcement while on monitoring.
Thank you, Mr. Sandberg.
As a European, I am a European, actually.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, Irish citizen. Yeah, so there you
welcome.
go.
Welcome.
Speaking as a European.
WTF.
Here, here.
How many kids did you molest with Jeffrey Epstein?
More than just elbows.
And as the most European of the non-European countries,
being aware of what potential conflicts of interest you sought
What possible
to avoid.
conflict would you have, Stephanie? Stephanie, I'm complying with the rules. I'm complying with the rules in advance. Come on for now.
These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations, you're spending more money on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
All right, gang, thank you all very much for watching. Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. Smash that subscribe. We're trying to grow this thing. Canadian Federal Politics. Get yours right here. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.